Your daily news summary starts now, only on NNC, Neural Newscast.
Live from the Neural Newscast Global Information Center, I'm Andrew Lindbeck. For the latest, we check in with our breaking news team. Breaking. Russia mounts its largest drone assault yet, striking Kyiv and a government building in the capital center. I'm joined by Sarah Wheaton.
Russia launches its largest drone assault of the war, striking central Kyiv and hitting a government building. Ukrainian officials say it is the first damage to a key site in the capital's government district since the invasion began in 2022. The overnight barrage forces air defenses into action across Kyiv. Residents wake to explosions, debris, and blocked streets. Authorities report multiple drones intercepted, but some get through. The attack comes as Russia presses its campaign despite ongoing international pressure and stalled peace efforts. Kyiv warns of more raids and urges stronger air defense support. This is Sarah Wheaton for Neural Newscast.
For a worldwide view, we turn to our international team. South Korea says it will fly home over 300 workers detained by U.S. immigration agents after arrests at a U.S. plant. I'm joined by Monica Kellen.
South Korea charters a government plane to bring home more than 300 workers detained by U.S. immigration agents at a Hyundai plant in Georgia. Officials announced the plan and say they are coordinating departures and consular support. Foreign Minister Cho Tae-ol says his government is deeply concerned by the arrests. Seoul deploys staff to verify detainee status, ensure legal access, and notify families. The move underscores tensions over labor and immigration enforcement and indicates closer monitoring of Korean nationals at U.S. work sites.
Russia is boosting online disinformation ahead of Moldova's parliamentary vote. Officials say it mirrors past tactics. Now let's cover the latest political moves. A Long Island board rejects a settlement over a mosque's expansion, keeping a federal lawsuit active in the dispute. Daniel Grove is here with more details.
A Long Island town board votes down a legal settlement with Masjid Al-Baqi after years of dispute over a planned expansion. The mosque's federal lawsuit proceeds next month, keeping the case in court instead of closing it. Supporters frame the project as a religious freedom and zoning fairness issue. Opponents cite traffic, density, and neighborhood impact, reflecting broader land use debates. Civil rights groups note a pattern of bias in some mosque cases, while local officials say they must balance equal treatment with community planning. This is Daniel Grove for Neural Newscast.
Now let's report on the economy. Major oil producers led by Saudi Arabia say they will increase output, unwinding parts of prior supply cuts. Turning to Ethan Wells for details.
Major oil producers led by Saudi Arabia moved to increase output, signaling confidence in demand. The group says it will start unwinding another tranche of agreed supply cuts. This shift follows months of voluntary curbs aimed at stabilizing prices. Higher output could ease fuel costs, but pressure revenues for producer budgets. Traders watch for the timeline and volumes, which can sway global benchmarks. Riyadh frames the step as measured and reversible, saying it will adjust as needed to keep markets balanced. This is Ethan Wells for Neural Newscast.
Daily news, synthesized and verified. This is Chad Thompson, the founder of Neural Newscast. At Neural Newscast, we're all about making news fast, factual, unbiased, and human-reviewed. Visit neuralnewscast.com for deep dives, special reports, and our full archive of content.
A look at what's new in technology. Undersea cables in the Red Sea were cut, causing internet slowdowns across Asia and the Middle East. Kara Swift reports on this story.
Major internet cables in the Red Sea are cut, slowing service across Asia and the Middle East. Operators report multiple fiber breaks impacting at least 4 undersea systems on key routes. Traffic reroutes, but latency spikes and speeds drop for users and businesses. Microsoft says Azure services see disruptions tied to the cuts. Subsea repairs require specialized ships and COMSEs, so fixes could take weeks. These cables carry most international data, so outages ripple through cloud apps, video calls, finance, and gaming. One network engineer described the links as the internet's arteries. This is Kara Swift for Neural Newscast.
Now, science headlines and discoveries. Astronomers have found a protostellar jet far out in the Milky Way, suggesting star formation is universal across the galaxy. I'm joined by Nathaniel Cohen.
Astronomers detect a powerful protostellar jet 26,000 light-years from the Sun in the Milky Way's far outer disk. Using ALMA radio observations, they spot twin jets blasting from a newborn star, a hallmark of early stellar growth. The find shows the same physics shaping stars in our galaxy's sparse outskirts as in crowded inner regions. Researchers say the jet's speed and symmetry match well-studied nearby examples, pointing to universal star formation processes. One scientist calls it textbook protostellar behavior in an unexpected location. This is Nathaniel Cohen for Neural Newscast.
Here's today's health news. New guidance urges earlier treatment for high blood pressure to reduce stroke and dementia risks, clinicians advise. Now, let's share the latest from abroad. In Gaza, mass displacement has left many homeless and hungry, with some fearing a repeat of 1948's Nakba. Samuel Green has more on this.
The war in Gaza has displaced most of the enclave's 2.2 million people from their homes. Families crowd shelters and tent camps with scarce food, water, and medicine. Aid groups report rising hunger, disease risk, and overwhelmed hospitals. Many Gazans fear permanent expulsion, recalling the 1948 Nakba, when more than 700,000 Palestinians fled or were forced from their homes. Israeli leaders say operations target Hamas. The United Nations warns that continued fighting and blockade deepen a humanitarian crisis and complicate any eventual return. This is Samuel Green for Neural Newscast.
Environment headlines. Australia pauses logging along its eastern coast to create a koala haven and to map critical habitat corridors. Turning to Stephen Summers for details.
Australia halts logging across a large stretch of eastern coastal woodland to protect koalas. The move creates a designated retreat aimed at preventing local extinction. Officials say the pause gives time to map critical habitat, restore corridors, and reduce stress from chainsaw noise and vehicle traffic. Conservation groups estimate sharp population declines from habitat loss, disease, and fires. The government plans new monitoring and revegetation targets this year. One official calls it a lifeline for koalas, underscoring the urgency of protection. This is Stephen Summers for Neural Newscast.
Financial news and market trends up next. France's government unveils austerity measures as it seeks to close a widening budget deficit and reassure markets. Cassandra Joyce is here with more details.
France faces fresh austerity as Prime Minister Gabriel Attal moves to close a swelling deficit. He proposes sharp spending cuts and targeted tax hikes to steady public finances and reassure markets. The plan arrives amid weak growth, high debt near 110% of GDP, and EU budget pressures. Cuts would hit ministries and subsidies, new revenues would lean on high earners and large firms. Allies warn of social pushback and a fragile parliamentary math. Attal insists the state must restore credibility while protecting core services.
A UN postal agency reports postal shipments to the U.S. plunged after a trade exemption ended, reshaping e-commerce flows. Here's Robert Klein with more.
Postal shipments to the United States plunge more than 80% after a key trade rule ends. The de minimis exemption, which let packages under $800 enter tariff-free, has expired. A UN postal agency says volumes drop sharply as costs rise. Retailers face delays and higher fees. Consumers see longer delivery times and surprise duties. One official calls the shift a reset for cross-border e-commerce. This is Robert Klein for Neural Newscast.
For an entertainment update, here's what's new. A Los Angeles judge blocks demolition of Marilyn Monroe's former home, preserving the historic Brentwood property. Lydia Holmes is here with more details.
A Los Angeles judge blocks demolition of Marilyn Monroe's former home, keeping the landmark intact. The Spanish-style hacienda in Brentwood gains protection after the city council designates it a cultural monument. A neighboring owner had petitioned to raise it. Preservationists say the site anchors Monroe's legacy and local history. City officials note the ruling reinforces safeguards for registered landmarks, ensuring any future changes face strict review and public oversight. For Neural Newscast, I'm Lydia Holmes.
Here's another story we're following. A new documentary features claims that convicted serial killer Joseph Nasso admitted to many more victims, prompting renewed interest. Let's hear from Jessica Palmer.
Convicted serial killer Joseph Nasso allegedly claimed he murdered 26 women, far more than his known victims. A new documentary reports that death row inmate William Nogueira spent 10 years recording Nasso's purported confessions. Producers say Nogueira's notes have prompted investigators to review potential links to cold cases across California. Nasso, now in his 80s, already serves life for 4 murders. Authorities say any new information will be assessed to identify victims and notify families. This is Jessica Palmer for Neural Newscast.
Here's today's sports news. Andy Roddick's podcast, Served, has become the most popular tennis podcast in the United States, drawing wide audiences. Here's the latest from our newsroom. That wraps our headlines. For more, visit neuralnewscast.com and subscribe for updates.
Thanks for listening to Neural Newscast. Stay informed, stay curious, find our full archive at neuralnewscast.com. Neural Newscast combines real voice recordings with synthesized voices to enable prompt production without sacrificing quality. All content is generated using advanced AI algorithms developed by a human and undergoes fact-checking and human review prior to release. While we strive for factual, non-biased reporting and actively work to prevent AI hallucinations, AI-generated content can occasionally contain errors. Listeners are encouraged to verify critical information from trusted sources. For more details on our AI transparency policies, visit nnewscast.com.